Welcome to the Truth Be Told Storytelling Slam. Thanks so much for joining us. We have librarians, teachers, storytellers, family, everybody here. We really appreciate you coming out and creating space for storytelling, especially among such bright young voices. Truth Be Told, if you're not familiar, is a live storytelling competition. The Slammers have 5 minutes each to tell a true story based on this year's theme, which is endings. And the students competing in the Slam are all winners from the respective schools. So we've already got some creamy crap here. All right. After each of the stories, the judges panel will have the unenviable responsibility of assigning scores to each performance. And before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to silence all our electronic devices. Yes. Oh, so compliant. Yes. All right. And I will now introduce our judges for the evening. We have Matt Brown, Olivia Jones-Hall, Kirby McCurtis, Katie Pyatt, and Sheila Navin. All right, let's give them a round of applause. Thank you so much for coming out. And without further ado, we'd like to welcome our first storyteller to the mic. They are not competing, but they will be taking the brave stance of telling the first story of the evening. Please help me in welcoming to the stage the storyteller, Jack Chase.
I'll be honest, I didn't know I was doing this until like 10 minutes ago, so yeah. Okay. Alright, so writing a story is hard. Making it interesting is even more difficult, and when you have to put it into a theme, like, what are you going to do, right? So when I had to write this Story Slam story about endings, like, I didn't know what I was going to do. And in English class, when I don't know what to do, I look out the window. Well, it's like a row of windows, like over there, you know? But I'll look out those windows, and usually something will come to me, you know, I'll think of an idea. But this time, nothing was coming to me, you know, and I was looking out this window, I saw a lot of things. I saw like a bird, I saw a plane, I saw some clouds, you know, but I didn't really see any good ideas. And so I looked down at my piece of paper and see what ideas I have so far, and I got 2 of them. One of them is about the time in 2nd grade when my friend left, and that's okay. Like, I can make that a story and it'd be fine, but I don't really want to do that. And the other one is like the worst idea ever. It's about my end to summer, and the end of my summer was really boring, and I don't really think anyone wants to hear about how my boring summer came to a really boring end. So that idea is just off the table. Like, that isn't gonna work. And so then I look at my like list of prompts to like get your brain moving, you know. And I'm thinking, oh, maybe I'll think of some time when like my goldfish died and it was really traumatic, but I couldn't think of anything and I never had a goldfish, so that didn't work out at all. And now I'm getting a little nervous because my teacher's going to come around in like 5-10 minutes and I have nothing to write about. And I'm just sitting there worried. I'm like, oh God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I don't know what to do. And I'm like, I have this bad writer's block, you know? Like, I just wish that this would end. And I'm like, wait a second. That's a great idea for a story. So I was like in this weird little gremlin pose, you know, like not knowing what to do. And then I wrote it down and then I like shot like straight up and I'm like, whoa, this is cool. And I was standing still at my desk, you know, but my eyes were like moving around the classroom to make sure no one had like seen me jolt up or like was reading my mind and was gonna steal my idea, you know. So then hold on, I've forgotten it. Okay, I'm back on it. So then I see my teacher, he's starting to come over to me, you know, and then I get kind of nervous. I'm like, wait a minute, this story's really weird. And, you know, what if he doesn't let me write about it? So I get really nervous, and my teacher isn't that intimidating, but when you're sitting in a desk and you're like a foot shorter than everyone, and he's just like sauntering over to you, and then he has this like bald head and like these glasses and this beard, and he like has this like eagle-eyed death stare that he was like gazing down on you, and I'm just sitting in my chair, I get really, really nervous. And then, so he goes like, oh, okay, what story ideas do you have? And I realized at this point that I need to sell this idea, you know, I need to make it really, really, really interesting, which means I have to make my other 2 ideas sound really boring. So I go, oh, you know, I have this one about my friend leaving in 2nd grade, and I don't know, this one about my end of summer, and then okay, hold on. Okay, what about this cool idea about my story being about, hold on, wait for it, the end of me not knowing what to write about? I mean, you know, yeah, like, maybe, you know? And so he he looks up at the ceiling, and he puts his, hand in the thinking pose. He goes like, okay, is that a good is that a bad please be more specific, And he finally looks down at me after like a couple seconds, even though it was probably like an hour in my mind, And he just goes, yeah, sure, that sounds good, you can do that. I just nod my head, yeah, that's a great idea. I didn't really think of that, but hey, maybe that'll work. But, in my mind, I'm like, okay, like green light, clear for takeoff, like go, go, go. And so I immediately start writing out my story. But then I get stuck again because I'm like, wait, how am I going to write about this story? Because I can't write about it until I've written about it. And I can't have written about it until I write about it. So now I'm stuck again and I get really confused. And I just don't know what to do again. I'm like, why does this keep happening to me? Man, writing a story is really hard. And then it hits me again like, wait, that's a pretty good way to start a story. So then I write that down. And then I wrote the whole story. And then I said it in front of my class. And then I said it in front of like everyone at Madison. And then I said it in front of other people at Madison. And now I'm saying it in front of you guys. This is kind of confusing. Okay, well, that's how my writer's block came to an end. Thank you guys.
Wow, very meta. Just destroyed that fourth wall. I think we just heard one of Jack Chase's lucid dreams about school. Much more intense than I used to have. All right, thanks so much for doing our first story. Give it up again, one time for Jack. Yes. All right. So the next storyteller coming to the stage does not know they are up next. I'm going to pull their name from this bowl. And summon from the bowl the next storyteller we're destined to hear. And we are going to hear next from... It's a good challenge for me. All right, coming to the stage, we have Archie Barnes.
So I've never used a microphone before, so this is kind of weird, but it's pretty well. So my name's Archie Barnes, and my story is about a tiny metal soldier that I got from my grandma in England, like 7 or 8 years ago. I'm not really sure. Everything's kind of a blur from like three to now. So it all started in this town called Bath, which is basically a really, really old Roman town full of these huge swimming pools where people used to bath there, which is why it was called Bath. That's kind of self-explanatory. And they don't bath there anymore. It's kind of unsanitary if a ton of naked men are bathing in the same place. But anyway, that's not the point. My grandma got this tiny metal soldier for me as a souvenir. And this was, I think, my 6th birthday, I think it was, I'm not sure. And she got me this tiny metal soldier, about this big. And so yeah, I took it home, and it was one of my favorite things. I always had it by my bed. I'd see it every time I went to sleep and every time I woke up. So it meant a lot to me, It was you have those toys that are very sentimental to you as a kid. This is one of those things. But anyway, so one night I was in bed, and actually, you know how kids do like crazy stuff all the time with no explanation? Like they'll just like run into a door just to see how it feels, or like eat a Lego or something. And anyway, so I was lying on my bed, and I was staring at this tiny metal soldier. And I was thinking to myself, what would this taste like if I put this in my mouth? And this is one of those things you really don't have an explanation for. Like why did I do that? I don't know. I still ask myself the same thing, and so do my parents. So I picked it up and I put it in my mouth to see how it tasted like. And I remember just kind of swashing it around a bit, just kind of getting a feel for it, And it tasted what you'd expect metal to taste like I don't know, metal. So I'm playing around with it in my mouth, and I remember lying on my bed and staring at the ceiling. I had like those glow-in-the-dark stars in the ceiling, so it was pretty mesmerizing. And I remember lying down like that, and all of a sudden the soldier slips down my throat, and I go, oh! And I'm shocked because I don't know where it went. It's completely disappeared. It's gone. It's not in my mouth anymore, and it's definitely not my hand, so I don't know where it went. And I scream for my mum and dad, and they come running up the stairs, and I'm like, Mum, I just swallowed the soldier Grandma gave me. She's like, what? I just swallowed the soldier the Grandma gave me. And so she gets me, and we go immediately to the emergency hospital. This is like 3 in the morning. This is not what you want to wake up as a parent. I don't have kids, but I can imagine that would probably be the worst experience ever to wake up to that. So we're in the emergency room, and they tell me that basically, if it had gone into the wrong part, then I could have choked and died. But what was scarier was the fact that the way I would have to get it out was basically pooping it into a sieve every day for the next month. So there was 6-year-old me on the toilet every day, basically pooping into this kind of strainer kind of thing, just to find that shiny metal soldier so that I knew it was out of my body. And of course, eventually we found it, and we put it up on our mantelpiece in our kitchen, just so every day we could look at it and just be how grateful, just know how grateful we are that I didn't die and choke on that metal soldier that one night. And yeah, we had that every day, and we took it with us to America, and we still have it with us. And I think that kind of symbolizes how childhood kind of follows you through your life, you know. And to this day, my mom and dad, they tell all my friends a story at the dinner table. Like, I'll bring someone new home, and they'll be like, "Have you heard the story about the metal soldier?" And I'll be like, "No, because I mean it's a bad story and it has a bad ending. I have to poop it out into a strainer, so it's not the best story." But yeah, we still have it today, and I think it very much symbolizes my childhood and how it's followed me through from all the way back then when I put stuff in my mouth to all the way back now. Thank you.
Wow. I gotta say, very relatable. Definitely got taken to the doctor for putting a piece of corn in my ear. Yeah, they had to shoot it out with a little hose. My dad missed work that day. All right. So solidarity. All right. Just a couple things. I'd like to thank some other folks that are helping us out today supporting the slam. There's a lot of people involved in this. We have Math Genius, capital M, capital G, Partiznavi. Yes. We have other Math Genius, capital O, capital M, capital G, Beth Ivester? Yes, Ivester. Keep in time, Mary Rodeback. All right, we got a countdown timer, Maya Brunner. Yes. Official photographer, Sunny Childs. Yep. And videographer, Frank Dadula. Hey, on camera. All right. So I will pull. Oh. Official accordion maestro Paige.
Say what it was for. So if you guys hit the 5-minute mark, I'm going to make. You get to sit.
You get to 7, you have to start acting like a puppet. That's what it's for. That's why we chose the accordion. All right, your next storyteller coming to the stage. I'm very excited about this. Ooh. Please put your hands together for Ari Lohr.
So we first met at the beginning of 8th grade. We were actually doing a play called Once in This Island, Robert Gray. It was a musical. I can't sing, but neither could she, so we fit perfectly together. So we met at the beginning of 8th grade doing this musical, and things just got better and better from there. We watched movies together, we played The Sims, we talked about boys. I mean, it was perfect. When you are so close to losing something, when you're in that moment, things change. You see, as we moved into 9th grade, she started to act different. She started to act more reserved, withdrawn, and distant. At the time, I didn't think anything of it. I mean, high school's pretty hard, turns out, but things didn't go so well. I remember one day I was walking home from school and I got a text from her. She said that she had taken pills. At the time, I didn't know how to act. I mean, I was a dumb high school freshman. I had never been in a situation like this before, so I texted her back, "Are you okay?" And she said yes. And then I texted her again, "Where are you?" And she gave no response. I texted her again and again and again and again, and she still gave no response for hours. 6 hours later, she did turn out to be okay. But things were different from that point on. When you are in that moment, and you are so close to losing something, things change. I asked her a little while later why she had done it, and at first she couldn't answer, but she made it relatively clear. You see, throughout her entire life, and especially in high school, she had it hard, not just from her family, but also from the people in her own school. People all the time would call her these terrible names, and at the time I didn't realize it, but now I look back and I only feel anger. They would call her liar, idiot, dumbass, retarded, just because she was in the special ed class. I mean, how can you act like that? And these aren't just bullies, these were everyday people that I knew in my life. The fact that people were so willing to act like this horrified me. It still goes on. People are so quick to judge others, to try to hurt them. She tried to take her own life and almost succeeded. When you're in that moment and you're so close to losing something, things change. I think things ended that day, not just for her, but for me as well. I look back on it now and I realize that maybe it was a good thing. I mean, yeah, this terrible thing happens, but so many good things changed in the future. I learned that we have to empathize with others. I mean, I had been perpetuating that cycle too. So many people I knew had been. But I realize now that if we can just learn to treat each other like human beings, to not be so quick to judge, so many good things can happen. And things are so much better now. I mean, she switched to a new school and she has a group of friends that support her, and unlike me, she has a boy. So things at the end of the day are great. And at the end of the day, both her and I lost a part of ourselves. But maybe that's for the best.
Ari Lore, thank you so much for sharing with us. That was a lovely story. And a great reminder that endings can be wonderful if they lead to really transformative change. So a really great perspective to share with us. Thanks so much. Keeping on going while the judges tally our scores, I would like to plug Fourth Fridays. It is a new monthly all ages open mic at the 1905. So if you have stories that you'd like to share, poetry, rap, songs, could meet other youth slam poets from all around Portland, or you can get some practice on stage before Verselandia. Also a great slam poetry event. Come join, all are welcome. Signups will begin at 6, and the open mic will be 6:30 to 7:30, and see Mrs. Sullivan if you have any questions. I think we're ready to pull our next storyteller's name out of the bowl. All right, coming up next to share a story with us is Ellen Lovery. Please get it for Ellen.
Okay. The first time I remember seeing my father cry was a Tuesday. I know this because in 4th grade, the grade I happened to be in on this Tuesday, we turned our homework packets in on Wednesdays, and I had to explain to my teacher why mine wasn't finished. Flashback to when I was about 3 or 4 years old, I had a very interesting preschool teacher named Cindy. Cindy had a farm, and sometimes she would bring in small farm animals for us little children to interact with. One time, she brought in kittens, and my sister and I fell in love. We begged our parents so much to get us one of these little cats, and eventually they agreed. I remember we sat in our backyard one summer afternoon and tried to think of the perfect name for this cat. We argued for, I'm sure it was a long time, but eventually came up with the perfect name. It was Sunflower Blacknose Ayame Lovery. Lovery because that's our last name, Ayame because that's my sister's name in Pig Latin, and we thought Pig Latin was so cool. Blacknose because there were 2 cats, one had a white nose and one had a black nose, and we had to differentiate between them. And Sunflower because my mom planted sunflowers in our garden, and we were staring at them the whole time we tried to come up with this name. So Sunflower Blacknose Ayame Lovery became a part of our family. She had many more names because Sunflower Blacknose Ayame Lovery is too much for any person to say. The most popular of which was Sunflower or Sunny Bee, which could have been her rapper name now that I think about it, if she had been a person and not a cat. So Sunny Bee was a hunter. She loved to kill birds and bring them to us on our porch. I think she thought she was a jungle cat. Too bad for her. One time, she brought a live mouse into our house, which we obviously named Mrs. Frisbee because that's the only appropriate name for a mouse. And that was a crazy afternoon. We were all running around the house trying to help Mrs. Frisbee get out while our cat was trying to kill her. Eventually, Mrs. Frisbee ran into our basement, and we never saw her again. I like to think she is immortal and living a happy life down there, but she's definitely dead. So, I'm sorry, Mrs. Frisbee, you deserved better. I don't remember a time before Sunny Bee lived with us, like my memory starts and she's there, which is why in 4th grade it was a little concerning to me when she started to lose weight and she stopped running around as much. And she started taking naps on top of the heating vents in the basement because they were warm, and I guess she liked that. So on this Tuesday, I came home from school and I went down to the basement and got her from her hiding place. And I went up to the living room and sat with her on the couch. And I think in the back of my mind, I knew that that was the end, that she didn't have a lot of time left. But I mean, I was in 4th grade. I didn't really know what was going on. So when my dad came home that day, he took her to the vet, and when I came downstairs and I saw the tears in his eyes, I knew it was over, that she was gone. And I mean, I was crying, we were all crying. My parents told me that it was gonna be okay, and I didn't believe them. But I'm here today, and I have a new cat. Her name is Snickers. She's great. So, even though Sunny Bee is no longer with us, it doesn't mean that, my life ended with her too. Like, we're still here, and life is still good. Because the thing is, without all of those endings, there would never be any new beginnings. And I will always have those memories of Sunny Bee. Thank you.
Ellen Lovery, right in the gut. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing with that. I mentioned Verslandia earlier. Verslandia will be happening on Thursday, April 25th, so get your original poems ready to go. This is usually a sold-out event, so keep an eye out for ticket sales if you want to get into that. That will be fantastic. They'll also be looking for volunteers to fill other roles throughout the slam season. And if you'd like to donate your time and talent, please see Mrs. Sullivan in the library. I think we are about ready to pull your next. We only have 2 more storytellers. Who will it be? All right, your second to last storyteller for the evening is Miles Tebray. Welcome to the stage, Miles.
There are 2 things I have realized in my old age. One of them being breaking up with someone feels like you're gonna vomit. It feels really, really, really bad until you finally do it. Then it feels awful. Then it feels so bad. But then you feel great until you realize what you've done. And the second thing is that getting broken up with is like getting vomited on. Boy, oh boy, have I been vomited on. So many times. We met in sophomore chemistry. Our love was like a wildfire, raging through the fields, destroying anything it could, bridges too. It was strong. Our first date, most romantic thing you could think of. Pizza, Doctor Strange, a kiss under the moonlight. Who would have thought? Fast forward months later. We're lying in a bed together, and I hear her heart. And mine is going, same as hers. Our hearts going the exact same rate at the exact same time. It's a weird thing to catch onto, but it was happening. Not months later, weeks later, her mom kicks her out of her house because she was dating me. I help her find her biological parents, and things go good for her for a while. We're happy. Summer rolls along. It's August. I'm lying in bed, asleep, and I get a text. It's a word vomit. I can't read it, so I fall back asleep. I wake up a couple hours later. She's vomited on me. And all I can say is okay. 3 days later, she texts me again and says that she had cheated on me and that she wanted to get back together. She still loved me. I still loved her. I mean, I hadn't done anything wrong. And so we get back together. Looking back on it is an awful, awful decision. What was I thinking? Because 2 months later, she moves away. And I can feel our hearts slowly going out of phase. All of her thoughts and emotions and dreams are in her area. Scapoose. And all of my love and wishes and heart are here for me, and not an abusive, one-sided relationship. And that's how it ended. I stopped feeling it because I realized that I wasn't getting anything out of it, and she was getting everything. Thank you.
All right, yeah, a reflection on how sometimes you can feel the end coming and we just want to push it off in there. All right. I think, well, we do have one more storyteller for the evening. I believe they know who they are. All right, and we've been waiting so patiently to hear them. Please welcome to the stage I'm a comedian, almost said the very funny, you may very well be, no. The very hilarious, maybe not tonight, if they feel like it, Sage James.
LGBTQ. These 5 letters have 2 things in common. 1, the start of my journey. 2, the ending of a little girl my mom once knew and loved. When I was younger, I always knew something wasn't right. Whether it was that I wanted to play with Hot Wheels rather than Barbies, or hang out with my mom or with my dad rather than my mom and my sister. But my mom always had me hang out with her and my sister because that's what girls do. They travel in packs literally wherever they go. And I start to realize, something's just not right. And come 5th grade, and I start to see, I see this really cute girl, and I'm like, oh my God, I think I'm gay. Yeah, no, I'm totally a lesbian. Because, 5th grade, yeah, I know who I am. Lesbian. And 6th grade comes around, and I sit comfortably with that, and I'm like, but towards the end, I start to think, this isn't really sitting right, but you know what? This is who I've decided who I am, because you know how everyone knows exactly who they are in 6th grade. Everyone does. Come 7th grade, and I start to realize, this doesn't fit right at all. This doesn't seem right. I don't know what this feeling is, but it's just not right. I start to research saying, why doesn't my body feel right? Why does my gender not match who I really am? I come across this YouTuber by the name of Jazz Jennings. If you don't know who she is a transgender youth activist, and I watched all of her life story pretty much, and I just did extensive research. I watched 5 YouTube videos. And I just found all these words: transgender, gender nonconforming, non-binary, genderqueer. All of these words fit exactly how I felt. And through the research that I did, I saw these stories of these people getting thrown out of their house for being trans, let alone just being gay in general. I was terrified because when I told my mom I was a lesbian, just this crying 11-year-old, all she said was okay. But seeing these stories, I just got so terrified. I wrote letter after letter after letter, pretty much saying, Mom, this is who I am. Mom, this is who I am. I hope you can accept me. Mom, I'm gay. Mom, I'm trans. This is who I am. Every letter is now somewhere in the recycling heaven. And one day, my mom is driving me to volleyball practice, and I have this 3-page letter written out, and just as I'm unzipping it from my bag, my mom turns to me and she says, you tend to do a lot of things for the shock factor. So I'm there going, yeah, okay, and just tuck my letter in the bag, and off to recycling heaven it went. And then I realized, this needs to happen. This needs to happen soon, because I'm honestly feeling sadder and sadder and more just uncomfortable with who I am. So I end up coming out to my stepdad first. And he takes me out to buy some new clothes that helped match how I feel, and I felt good. And every day I would wear the same plaid blue button-down shirt with my hair tucked up into a red beanie. That's pretty much all I wore in the end of 7th grade, to the point where it was kind of ridiculous. And if you guys know the store, Village Merchants down on Division, my mom and I were there. And I hold up yet another plaid blue button-down shirt, which was different from the one I was wearing, keep in mind. And I say, I'm gonna go try this on. She says, we need to talk about something when you get back. And in my mind, my heart stopped. I was panicking, I was not ready at all. The shirt didn't even fit, by the way, which I think is the most infuriating part of this entire experience. So after I come out of the dressing room, not of the closet, so after I exit the closet, after I exit the dressing room, my mom says, "What's going on?" I say, "I'm not ready." She says, "What's going on?" I say, "Mom, I can't talk about this right now." She says, "What's going on?" I say, "Mom, no, I can't." She says, "You're gonna tell me what's going on." That's when I snap and I say the words, "I'm not your little princess anymore," which is my biggest regret to this day. I wait and there's silence. I go out to the car and I wait, silence. A year later, there's still silence. My mom told me she'd wait an entire year before she would even consider changing my name and pronouns. And that entire year was horrible. I asked my mom, how did it feel when I came out? She said it felt like there was this stranger living in my house because I didn't know who you were. Flash forward to now, it's February of 2019. She's using the right name, she's using the right pronouns. I'm getting my name changed in hopefully this year. And it's the best feeling ever. But I can't help but think, how did it feel for my mom to see her little girl change into a boy? Thank you.
Sage James. Wonderful story about the end to silence. All right, so we are at the stage in the evening. Math geniuses, it is now time to work your final math magic and determine our first through fifth place storytellers. Audience will be announcing them in just a few minutes, so hang tight. We do have some snacks, feel free. All right, and then let's just give a huge round of applause to the school librarians who worked wonders behind the scenes so that this event could happen. Thanks so much for bringing us together, for creating this space. It's so valuable. It's so wonderful to validate lived experiences and elevate individual voice. It's wonderful. Has the math been computed? It is not. Oh yes, let's take a photo. Storytellers, get on up here.
Stay up there. I'll tell it to you. So this is in response to the passing of Sonny B. So when we heard that story at Grant High School, I was trying to tap dance like I'm doing now, and I told a story about that. Just like Ellen, I too had a cat in my life that I have no other childhood memories before this cat came along. Right? Her name was Scooter. Didn't share that with you last week. Scooter. So I'm a senior in high school. This cat is now 17 years old. And I come home one night. I've never really admitted this, but in the back of my mind, I think maybe I might have been the person that hit her with the car. She got hit by a car. That's how she passed. I was not laughing at the time. I was devastated. I was so heartbroken because, like Ellen, I had never known a moment in my life without Scooter. And Mom, my sister, and I, we were all sobbing. My dad was the only one that was trying to keep things together and told us to quit making a scene in front of the neighbors. And so we all went inside because we had to quit making a scene. Later, when we asked Dad, what'd you do with Scooter? He was never one to follow any kind of city codes. He just decided to put her in a shoebox and bury her in the backyard. So Scooter was close by, and that was comforting kind of in a way. But later on in my senior year of high school, I read a book by my favorite author, Still one of my favorite authors, Stephen King. The name of the book was Pet Sematary. And my cat, when she was still with us, had a habit of walking around the ledge of our house that was right underneath all of our windows, and she liked to come to my window and scratch at the screen because she'd see me sitting in my bed reading. So needless to say, when I started in on this book, and spoiler alert, it's about a cat that comes back from the dead after it's been buried by the patriarch of the family. As I was reading that book, I swore that I heard scratching at my window, and I thought Scooter had come back to haunt me. That's my creepy story.
All right, sounds like we're ready to announce the first through third places. All right, so we'll start with all right, in fifth place, please give it up for storyteller Archie Barnes. In fourth, we've got Ellen Lovery. All right, our third place All right, our third place storyteller for tonight is Ari Lore. All right, our runner-up for the evening, Miles Tibray. And I think you know what that means. Give it up for your storyteller this evening. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope you come out next year. Take your photos if you need to. Are you done? Oh, there's one still. All right. All right. Woo! Get in touch about volunteering at slam events. They're happening all the time.